the devil leaveth him, and behold, an angel came and ministered unto him. Look at your neighbor and repeat after me. Say, neighbor, no deal. I'm in the wheel. We got to be seated in the power and the presence of God. No deal. No deal. I'm in the wheel. As we begin to look at our text and topic, all of us in this house on this morning can come to the point of realization that there are some things, some stuff, some issues and obstacles in our lives that we just cannot handle. As a matter of fact, if all of us could handle the things that the enemy throws at us, there will be no reason to serve God. If you can handle everything that the devil throws at you, there will be no reason to pray. There will be no reason to come to church. There will be no reason to worship. There will be no reason to fast or any of these things concerning the kingdom. And I understand that one of the first songs that we learned as a toddler was, he's got the whole world in his hand. But to my surprise and chagrin, I've come to serve notice just to let the enemy, Brother Terry, know in such a season as we are in, that God has prepared each and every one of his children on how to handle the wilderness. The wilderness is a place of where there is no habitation. The wilderness is a season that we go through, but as believers in Christ, we got to let the devil know when he comes at us with this crazy stuff. We have to rebuke the devil and let the devil know, no deal. I'm in his will. In other words, God wouldn't allow us to go through something unprepared. Look at your neighbor and repeat after me. Say, neighbor, I don't know what you're going through, but you and God can handle it. You and God can handle it. The reason why I say that you can handle it is because of the evidence that you are wearing. Even though we're going through, you still got to smile. Anybody, you ever been through such a crazy season where everything around you just seemed to be down, but you were able to fake the funk and put a smile on your face even though you was hurting on the inside? You lost your job, but you know that he is a very present help in the time of trouble. Kids are chaotic, doing everything but the right thing, but you still have joy. Relationship is on the verge of running out, but you realize that he is a friend to the friendless. Am I preaching to any living witness and testimony in this house on this morning that can be honest enough to say, Pastor, you know what? I've been through the storm and the rain, but one thing is for sure. I know that God will not put no more on me than I be able to bear. Am I preaching to anybody that's trusting God no matter what season you may be in? If that's you in this house, go ahead and get on your feet and give God some trust and praise. God, I'm trusting you in the situation. I'm trusting you in my house. I'm trusting you in my kids. I'm trusting you in my family. I'm trusting you in my job. I'm trusting you in my church. God, I'm trusting you. Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor he can handle it. He can handle it. So what do you mean, man? I've been down before. Anybody here, you ever been down? You ever had more month than you do money? You ever rich, not reach. You ever reached in your pocket and came up with nothing but less. Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, I've been broke before. But don't get this thing twisted. Just because I'm broke don't mean I'm not blessed. Is there anybody be honest enough to say, I've been broke, but I'm still blessed? Because every time I turn around, God is making a way. Somebody shout, I'm blessed. How? No deal, man. No deal. I don't care what the streets are calling for. I don't care what the enemy is calling for. I come to serve notice to every demon, to every devil, to every obstacle. There is no deal. No deal. Because I'm in it. I'm in his will. In other words, y'all, we can't throw in the towel. It's your season to go back and pick the towel back up because you can handle whatever it is that the enemy is throwing at you. Well, Pastor, you don't understand my situation. None of us is exempt from the wilderness. None of us. The wilderness is that place. That's where Jesus was. Jesus was led to the wilderness to be tempted. He knew that the devil was there. Have you ever went somewhere, been invited somewhere, and you knew everything in the house was the devil? But you made sure before you went in there, you had a silent prayer in your car. God, I know these people. I don't trust them. God, I'm asking you to bless me before I go through their door. God, I don't really know if they can cook, so I got to sit and act like the food is. So we have to make sure that we get a jump on the enemy. Anybody ever been through a season where somebody got to jump on you before you got to jump on them? It didn't feel too good. But when you got smart enough and you got tired of dealing with the same old stuff, you told the devil, instead of you jumping first, I'm going to jump before you. Look at your neighbor, tell your neighbor, jump first. Okay, so the wilderness is the place in your life that was barren. Barren or empty. In other words, it was the ability to go through a dry spell or a season without nothing. You ever been through a season where everything you touch turns from sugar to shucks? You ever been through a season where you just can't get your hand on it? You ever been through a season to where you try to do the right thing, and every time you try to do the right thing, here comes the wrong thing? God is simply saying to us, all of us in here will experience this thing called a wilderness. But here in the text we find our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, coming out of the wilderness with John the Baptist in the 3rd chapter to go through the wilderness again by the way of the Spirit to be tempted by the tempter to find out that he could handle it. Amen. Have you ever felt like that every time something happened, you were the one that the family called up? Sometimes don't you just wish that you could go to the Thanksgiving dinner or the Christmas breakfast, and when it was time to pray, that everybody was not just looking at you because you go to church. Y'all help me and I'll get you out of this thing. Because you have a representation of the church, because they know that you pray. It seems like when all hell breaks loose, everybody depends on you. And the church says, God says, this is your season. Not for everybody to depend on you. All right. But he says, this is your season for you to depend on me. All right. Is there anybody in this house on this morning that can be honest enough to say, you know what, Pastor, I ain't got no choice but to depend on God. Everything around me seems like it's broken. Everything around me seems like it's in a mess. So sometimes I don't have no choice but to depend on God. I'm honest enough to say I'm in a wilderness, but I'm coming out. I'm coming out of this thing. Do I got any believers that's strong enough to believe? I'm in a wilderness right now. I don't know what you call it. I'm in a mess right now. I'm in a fix right now. But the devil is a liar. I'm coming out. How about your neighbor tell your neighbor, I'm coming out. I'm coming out of this thing. The devil is a liar. So first off, in no deal, I'm in his will. There's something that we must do as believers. If we are in his will, we got to have a will to worship. If we're in his will, watch what God does with this. If we are in his will, then we have to have a will to worship. Okay, let me buck you a little bit. Let me make the ride a little uneasy for you. God is saying, I'm sick and tired of people only wanting to praise me at the first of the month when they get their stamps and around tax time. God says, I need some folk that will continue to worship me and bless me, even though that idiot in the White House is talking about cutting out my stamp, talking about cutting out Section 8, talking about taking all these things away. God says, I need some individuals that will praise me and worship me in spite of. Yes, sir. Oh, y'all look quiet on me now. He says, you said no deal because you're in the will. He said, but will you still worship me even though your check is short?
Yes.
God says, I know there's a season when you want to act like Willie Turner. We know how it is on Friday. Willie Turner wants his paycheck, and he want to make sure his check is not short.
That's right. Yeah.
You know how we do. When you mess with our money. Now, I've done your work, so it should be no excuse about my... Watch what God does with this. So he says, I'm God. I know you messed up right now. I know you're in a crazy season right now. He said, but in me being God, you still have to recognize who I am and what I'm able to do.
That's right.
He says, don't let the devil create an atmosphere around you to where you don't forget church songs. You revert back to J. Cole and Waka Flocka and all them. They can't do nothing for you. God says you better revert back to what you know. And then there are those of y'all that can be honest enough to say, you know what, Pastor, there's some things that Beyonce can do. But Beyonce can't touch no weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper. God says, yes, you're in this wilderness. But you better learn how to worship me. You're going to need some scripture. You're going to need some prayer. You're going to need some good bone maneuvering songs that will tell you that we fall down, but we get back up. You have to be able to worship. You got to have that will to worship. Jesus paints the picture of what worship is all about in John 4:24. He paints a picture to his disciples of what worship truly is. He tells his disciples, he said, look here, God. He said, look at guys, y'all been following me. He said, there are some things that you should have picked up on by now. You know how it is in life. There's some of y'all that you can come to church and you can hear songs that the choir sing, and when you get out of church, you just mess the song all up. That's all right. That's your song. You ever been down that road? Well, you knew that's what he said in the song, but it was your song. You still had a will to worship. Jesus paints the picture in John 4:24. He tells the disciples, man, y'all been rolling me long enough. Y'all ought to be able to worship. Amen. You ought to be able to worship. Because he says in John 4:24, he says, they that worship me must worship me in spirit and in truth. If you are going to be able to handle this wilderness experience, you must have a will to worship. You cannot make any deals with the devil. Tell the devil that he is a liar because you have worship in your spirit. That's right. So Jesus was led in the wilderness by the Spirit so that he could worship him in spirit. Nudge your neighbor and tell your neighbor, you got to worship. You got to worship. Pastor, why do I have to worship? Worship is important to every service. That's why before I speak or I preach, I try to make sure that the house has a feel of worship. Worship, it sets an atmosphere. As Neil Dow would say, it saturates the atmosphere. Worship creates an atmosphere so that we will be able to receive the word. Ain't nothing like some good worship before a good sermon. Am I right about it in this house on this one? Have you ever found yourself maybe going to work or maybe at home in your prayer closet and you started out singing a song, and then once you got finished singing the song, you begin to go to God in prayer? Worship, it sets the atmosphere. So even though I'm in the wilderness, nothing is going right for me. I'm not going to use, the whole mindset, woe is me, because I understand that I'm not the only one going through. But if I can set the atmosphere, what do you mean, Pastor? Why are you in the wilderness? Call on God. Call on him. Amen. I think it was Eric Badu that said, call Tyrone. Well, Tyrone can't help you. You better learn how to call on God. But when you begin to call on God, things begin to change. So what did Jesus do, Pastor? He worshiped through the temptation. All of us were going to be tempted. That's why I've shared an individual my whole 15 years of pastoring. Don't put me on, Pastor, because the moment that I do something or I let you down, you're going to go out here and wear me out and talk about the church. That pastor ain't right, that church ain't right. Don't put me on, Pastor. because I may let you down. But when you know what it is to have a sense of worship, there ain't nothing that you can be tempted with that God won't bring you through. That's right. Don't put me on, Pastor. Why? I'm human. I like what you like. And the church said, amen. Okay, glad we got that understanding. I told y'all that 15 years ago. So, Jesus was in the wilderness. But he didn't get out of the will. Every time the devil tempted him, he told the devil no deal. When was the last time you told the devil when something tried to creep up in your spirit? Or whatever you want to call it. When was the last time that you had to tell, I'm trying to help and hope somebody. When was the last time yeah, it looked good, but you know it don't mean you're no good. And you just had to shout out no deal. And the church said, Jesus was in the wilderness. But the atmosphere had already been set. Because he was led in the wilderness by the Spirit. Now the danger is that if you don't have a sense of worship in your spirit, the devil will get you. He'll get you. So there was a will to worship. But worship requires two things. Less of you and more of God. What are you saying, Pastor? You know Jesus was going through. The scripture said that he fasted 40 days and 40 nights. Some of us can't fast 40 minutes. 40 seconds. Oh, y'all know about the church. Y'all remember them the first years, don't you? Oh, fasting was a process, wasn't it? Y'all remember? We made it though, didn't we? It was a process. For the first 5 years, there were many of fasting opportunities, wasn't it, church? And we made it. But Jesus fasted. Some of y'all think about it now, oh Lord. But Jesus fasted for 40 days, 40 nights. But it was his worship that caused him not to be caught off guard. And every time the devil hit him, from verse 1 through 4, every time the devil hit him with something, Jesus came back with a word. The reason why he was able to come back with a word is because he was in the midst of worship. So every time Satan goes to work, remember this if you don't remember anything else. Every time Satan goes to work, I got to have a word. I'm going to say it again. Every time Satan goes to work, I must have a word. Your worship experience will bring about a word. The temptation was not welcome because Jesus rebuked it with a word. If there is no word, then there's no worship. Let me paint this picture. You can take an individual. That's why it's so important. It's so important, Curtis, when people are ministering in the church, worship leaders and things like that, we have to be very careful. Because there are people who have a talent to sing, but they have no anointing. They have no anointing. They get up here, they're in their boots and they 5 layers of hair, and everything is pulled up and everything is together, and they can put on a show, but you can't receive anything from it because they have, I'm trying to teach somebody, they have no anointing. But you can take an individual that's not as gifted. She can't sing as well as her. But because she have a word on the inside of her, she can lead worship. And that anointing takes over. And then it draws. Amen. Let me ask you this question. Have you ever looked at somebody in church up there singing and you say to yourself, what are they doing? Everything was put together. But it was more about them than it was about God. But when you begin to understand what true worship is all about, that's when things begin to change. It was Jesus' power of worship that allowed him to be able to get through this wilderness. So what are you saying? Even though I'm in a wilderness, all of us, we have a wilderness experience. Just because you're in a wilderness, you can't give up on God. Don't nothing bother me more than to hear people who call themselves Christian. They go to church, they pray, they do all of these things. Don't nothing bother me more than to hear somebody tell me I'm just going through. Well, go on through, honey. It's a part of life. If you live long enough, you're going to go through a lot. And the church says, going through is a part of life. Sometimes as pastor, I just want to shout, me too. Me too. Jesus was in the wilderness. The picture had already been painted, but he wanted to let the devil know that he was not cutting a deal with him. Amen. Let me help somebody out this way. Amen. Maybe not you. Every time I cut a deal with the devil, I lost. That's right. Anybody ever been down that road? Every time I cut a deal with the devil, he won, but I lost. But I'm here to share with the devil on this morning that he is a liar. I'm no longer losing. I'm no longer going to be on the bottom. I'm on the top. I ain't cutting no deal. My deal is with God. And there used to be a time when I was the victim. But now, because I did not cut any deals with the devil, I am the victor because God is giving me the victory. Amen. Amen. All right, Watson. So, yes, sir. No deal, I'm in a will. There must be a will to worship. Secondly, here it is. It's going to help you. I hear you. Secondly, after understanding that there must be a will to worship, there must be a will to wait. 6 minutes, 30 is going right. There must be a will to wait. Women, I love you to death, but you are the majority in this. God says you may get what you want if you just learn how to wait. Oh Lord, men, can you give me an amen? Even though he was in the wilderness, after worshiping, because the devil didn't tempt him one time. After he hit the devil with that word, he came back with something else. So after I worship, I must learn how to wait. Amen. Amen. Have you ever been through a season where you come out of a good worship service, but you can't wait to get out? Right. And when you get out, right, the devil gets busy. Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, just learn how to wait. Learn how to wait. Man, I'm not trying to wait to excel, but I'm trying to learn how to wait on God. In verse 5 and 6, the tempter told him that he would take him out of town. But he told him to wait. All right, in other words, he told him, in verse 7, he says, don't tempt me. He says, I don't need you to take me on an out-of-town trip to get away, to come back to the same old trouble. All right. He says, I must learn how to wait on him. And when you learn how to wait on him, even though in the midst of the wilderness, waiting will keep you from wandering. Isaiah 40:31, he said, but they that wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, I'm waiting this one out. So after the will to worship, after the will to wait, there must be a will to watch. Look at what he did. 2 men were riding guys. He seen all that was going on. He had a word. He created an atmosphere of worship. He established some patience in learning how to wait. And then he was able to watch. You ever just look the devil right in the face? And you knew what you were seeing. It was nothing but the devil. Anybody ever been down that road? You knew it. Some of us we've said that child, that's the devil. That person, that is the devil. I mean, you seen the devil all over them. Yes, sir. in the midst of Jesus seeing all of that.
All right.
All
right.
He was able to watch what the Lord would do. And sometimes in life, you got to sit back and watch what the Lord will do. And if you in this place and you understand what it is to go through the wilderness, get on your feet and give God a wilderness praise. Praise Him while you're in the wilderness. But when I look at the scripture, I begin to understand what really was going on. Sometimes in life you got to look at the devil and tell the devil, I understand that you are up to something. Grab your neighbor by the hand and tell your neighbor, say neighbor, sometimes you have to look out. Sometimes you have to watch out. And sometimes you have to get out. Tell your neighbor, say neighbor, even though we have a wilderness experience, God is able to do all things. And if you in this house and you believe we serve a God that is able, get on your feet and give God able praise. Tell the Lord, thank you for being able when I couldn't find no way out. You were able when I couldn't see my way through. You were able when fools turned their back on me. You were able when fools counted me out. And you were able. Tell the Lord, thank you. Tell the Lord, I appreciate the things that you've done for me. Now here we are in the text, in the wilderness. The devil knew that Jesus. Somebody shout with the sweetest voice. Shout Jesus. I can't hear you. Shout Jesus. The Bible says when you shout Jesus, demons start to tremble. And I see Jesus now in the wilderness, slowly turning and had nothing. Man is going because what he went through, but I can see him looking up towards heaven and telling the Lord, thank you. And if you in this house on this morning, regardless of your situation, regardless of your wilderness, tell the Lord, thank you, Lord, because it could have been me. Thank you, Lord, because it could have been my brother. Thank you, Lord, because it could have been my son. Thank you, Lord, because it could have been my family. Thank you, Lord, because it could have been me. But by your grace, we leave in this place. Get business. But it's the wonder. Girl, how you get there? How you get the car? No money down. You tell your friends. Raise up, raise up, raise up, raise up. How did you get the house and your credit go up from the floor up? Somebody shout, shout, raise up. Jesus in the wilderness, that's when the devil was great, was great, was all about. Last time around, if you in this place and understand the grace of God, the power of God, open up your mouth, shout hallelujah, shout glory, shout hallelujah, shout glory, shout hallelujah, shout praise. Won't he do it? Will he, won't he? Won't he do it? He may not come in. You want it to, but he's always on time. And every time I turn around, every time I turn around, every time I turn around, he makes a way. Hug your neighbor, tell your neighbor, and get there. Grab your neighbor, hug your neighbor, tell your neighbor, and get there. Why do you want me to hug my neighbor? Sometimes a hug can help us out of the situation. Hug your neighbor and tell your neighbor, we've been laying through for a night. Joy. Somebody shout joy. Joy coming in the morning. Shout joy. Shout No deal. I mean, it's real. I will accept a gift from the devil on the day that I will regret on tonight. When the devil gets busy, you tell the devil, no deal. I'm in his will. Think about it this way. Wherever you at in life, you've come too far to turn back now. You may not have it all together, so as long as you're doing better today than you was on last night, you all right with me. And the church says, and as long as you're doing better on today than you were on last night, guess what? You all right with God. Everybody standing at this time, giving God the praise, for he's definitely worthy. He's definitely worthy.